So, a Thurston County judge is this afternoon going to be holding an emergency hearing on a legal challenge to one of the most contentious bills that was passed during the 2026 legislative session. This is Senate Bill 5974, which requires a number of things for sheriff candidates. There's age qualifications, there's a time of service. You have to be at least 5 years continual service in law enforcement. You have to pass a background check. A lot of these things are already criteria before someone becomes a sheriff in the state of Washington. But this bill went further. And this bill, the concerns about this bill for First Amendment advocates and those behind a couple of lawsuits is that posts made on social media, public comments that someone might have made can be used then against you to decertify you an elected sheriff by the Washington Criminal Justice Training Commission. And most of those members are appointed by the office of Governor Bob Ferguson. So it's set up quite a contrast. Duly elected sheriffs making some political comments that the Criminal Justice Training Commission might take issue with. Should that be enough to disqualify someone from office? So here was what Governor Bob Ferguson said about this bill at the bill signing on April 1st.
Sheriffs and police chiefs should be held to the same standards as their own officers and deputies. They should be certified and have law enforcement experience, pass a background check, and have a clean criminal history. Senate Bill 5974 modernizes Washington law governing sheriffs, police chiefs, and town marshals by setting these minimum qualifications. The Tri-City Herald editorial board said law enforcement officers up and down the ranks must have the public's trust to do their jobs. Senate Bill 5974 will bolster that trust, and I agree with that. Under this bill, sheriffs and police chiefs who are decertified are removed from office. I do have some reservations about the process for creating a vacancy. I've had good conversations with the sponsor and other legislators as well about that, and we'll probably be doing a little work on the interim, but the main message today is this is a great bill.
Now, again, this new law is set to take effect on April the 30th, tomorrow, on Thursday. But the emergency hearing will address this lawsuit from the four Eastern Washington sheriffs, which seeks basically to block this from taking effect on Thursday. As I mentioned, there is a lot of concern about First Amendment protections here for sheriffs that may have said something even 10, 15, 20 years ago in a public speech or potentially a post. Imagine they make a post when they're a teenager and then 10 or 15 years later, they're running for office or have become a duly elected sheriff, and then somebody resurrects something from social media past because the internet doesn't lose anything, right? And then that is a disqualifying factor based on the Criminal Justice Training Commission's decision. So, a lot of concerns there about that. This is Mark Lamb, the lead attorney for the four sheriffs. I had a conversation with him earlier this week about what exactly is going to take place today, and he's feeling pretty confident.
I think the First Amendment is very clear, and I think our Constitution here in Washington State is very clear, and that the voters should be able to elect who they want to public office. And I think sheriffs have the same freedom of speech rights that you and I have, and I think that's what we don't abrogate our freedom of speech to an unelected board that says, I like this speech, I don't like that speech, or I like you associating with this person, or I don't like you associating with that person. And it's a fundamental principle of democracy that voters should choose their elected officials, and it shouldn't be in the hands of an unelected body to throw that out. So I feel very comfortable that we have the right position under the First Amendment and under the Washington Constitution, which contemplates that counties can elect who they would like to represent them.
Again, we will be in the courtroom and have exclusive reaction from the lead attorney. And also in the courtroom today, we expect to meet up with Rick Cuss. He is the Kitsap County Sheriff candidate who won't be able to run for office if this bill ends up taking effect and the emergency injunction to basically put it on hold is not granted by a judge. He has his own separate lawsuit that is set for a hearing on Friday. There is the potential that today the judge says, I'm going to combine these two cases into one. So we'll bring you all those updates in tomorrow's episode of Washington in Focus Daily.